Hey guys, this is Jen McFarland. I always crack up before I go live. It's probably part of why I don't go live all the time. Happy Friday. I am the founder and CEO of Women Conquer Business, both the company and the podcast. So if this is your first time seeing me, I haven't done a live for a while. I wanted to tell you a little bit about my week and how it relates to this week's podcast, which, if you haven't listened to it yet, Patty Farmer is so engaging and wonderful. I've known her for probably about a year, and we just hit it off right away because she is so grounded. And, well, if you get to know me, what you see is what you get. So I like people who are grounded because, well, that's just kind of how I am too. And the cool thing about Patty is that she is so grounded and also a media expert and an international speaker. And speaking can be such an important part of your business. For example, this week I led a presentation at the Small Business Development Center, giving my top 10 around digital marketing for small business. And I landed that because I gave a presentation at a local agency here in Portland, Oregon. And she was like, I just love the way that you presented it. You just shared things in a new way. And then it led to this presentation, and which is actually a series of presentations. So my point is that when you get out there, when you take the chance, when you do some public speaking, when you share what you know as a part of your business, it can really lead to great things like paid speaking gigs or getting new clients, or sometimes both, which is just so awesome, right? Which brings us back to Patty. So it's easy to go, well, it's nice that you had an international speaker with so much acclaim on the podcast. That's great. I've never done it before. But here's the thing. Everybody has to start somewhere, right? And what is so cool is the story that Patty tells on the podcast is so much about her humble beginnings and kind of what happened in the beginning, why she decided to do public speaking to begin with, which is a great story for anybody who is moving to a new area of town or the country, and also how hard it was to actually do it and how imperfect it was and how it's important to keep going. So I really encourage you to go through and do that and listen to it. I think you're going to learn some really great things. And then also, let's, talk about kind of some of the other stuff that I've had like kind of brewing and going on over here, I spent a significant amount of time yesterday. I did a month's worth of podcasts. Is that right? Maybe 4 or 5 new shows. It's just easier to do them all in one day. We've got some really great people, in addition to Patty, coming on very soon and in the weeks to follow. So I want you to be sure that you check them all out. And I'm hoping to get as many people as I can to come on and talk about what they've got going on. Maybe I'll even be able to get Patty. This week has just been so hectic. I haven't been able to reach out to her and really talk about, getting her on the show on live to like talk about some of her cool stuff. So please connect with Patty Farmer online. Please listen to that show. And then in the next few weeks, we're going to talk about things like marketing and mindset. And you're going to notice some common themes. Like I've got a whole slate of really successful women coming on the show, and they start to kind of talk about the same things, which I can really hear because I'm listening to these interviews back to back, putting all of the things together so that I can send them to my editor. And I start to notice these patterns, about how important being consistent is and how important it is to stay on top of things and make connections and talk to people and have mentors. And so my point is that when we do the podcast, it's very thoughtful. And I've had people ask me, well, how does this really relate to your business? A lot of people think of me as, someone who does leadership and project management, with a little side of digital marketing. And they think that it's this like tech nerd kind of thing that I do. And I said, well, I do the podcast because I love it, A. B, I get to talk to phenomenal people that I maybe wouldn't otherwise have ever met or known existed. But most of all, when we talk about things like mindset and consistency and leadership and all of these tasks that or things and strategies and tactics, when we talk about all of that, it's because as women, we are very holistic and we look at the world a little bit differently. And a lot of the conversations that I have with people aren't solely about getting from point A to point B. They are about everything that goes on in between, including the reasons why sometimes we just don't get started. The reasons why sometimes it's so hard to move off of that initial thing that you maybe wanted to do or could do, but it's just really hard to get it off the ground. And sometimes it's that space kind of between the ears, right? That just blocks us, that just makes it a little bit harder for us to get going. Or maybe it's money, thinking that you don't have that margin of error to make a lot of mistakes. And so you don't do anything because what if you make a mistake? Even though making mistakes is a big part of being successful, right? So I talk about all of these things when I work with people, because if you're going to reach your highest dreams and build that foundation to get you there, you have to work on some of these mindset things. You have to work on all of the pieces and have all of these pieces in your toolkit. And sometimes I'm not that person to give you that high quality support, but sometimes I am. And sometimes I share these things on the podcast or on a live stream, kind of like this, just so that we can keep the conversation going. And my point is to keep us not just in the empowerment space, but to also create power that will power action and help you reach your ultimate goals. And so with that, it's 11 o'clock here in Portland, Oregon. I'm about to blast off out of my home office and go to Open House Co-working, where my office is, grab a little lunch, and then keep on charging along. So for you, I hope you're doing the same. Have a great day and have a great weekend, and catch you next time.